Hello and welcome to Candid Convos with Jona Dance. My name is Monique Jonas. I'm the founder of Jona Dance and the host for today's episode. Here at Candid Convos, we get to invite some really wonderful guests from the industry to join me in conversation to basically discuss about the ins and outs of the contemporary dance world. And I'm super excited to be able to welcome my guest today, Liam Francis.
Hello, what an intro. Yes, that was perfect. Yeah, that was so good.
We tried.
That was
we
great.
tried out here. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so I think it's always quite good to allow you to introduce yourself, like offer what it is that you want to do and say about who you are, what you do, let the people know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always a fun one, isn't it? Like, how do I introduce myself? My name's Liam. I am a dancer. I'm a choreographer. I try to find other ways to utilize my dance skills in other fields. That takes many forms.
Yeah.
I always want to say something more interesting.
What do you mean? That already is
but I feel like there's other
interesting.
things as well. Like I'm an older brother.
Oh,
I'm an
fun.
eldest brother,
Oh,
which like
nice.
I feel like contributes a lot to how I am.
Yeah.
Even as a person and a dancer
Yeah.
and a choreographer. We'll leave it there.
You'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'll leave it there, yeah.
Okay, and could you give like a bit of an insight into your journey into dance, if you want to, a bit of an oversight over your career, just because
Yeah.
I think it's really important. We were saying earlier, like when we graduated, it was very much like you go into a company,
Mhm.
otherwise like you failed, quote
Yeah.
unquote. So I think it's really good to present all the variety of different journeys that we have throughout the contemporary industry. So can you give a bit of like an insight, a little summary of like your journey through dance?
Yes, I started dancing when I was about 14, so quite late, I guess, by some measures. I started because I was at my brother's chess tournament. He was at a chess tournament. I wasn't very good at chess, so I was kind of sitting in the waiting room,
Yeah.
and there was music playing, and I was dancing, and my mum just randomly was like, "Do you want to go to dance lessons?" And I thought she meant right then, so I was like, "Yes."
Right.
She's like, "Well, not now. Like your brother's playing chess." And
Oh,
we're in a
you meant
school
like
hall."
during
Yeah,
the
I thought I was like, "Yeah, let's do a dance lesson right now." And
Iconic.
she was like, "No, not right now. Just
Yeah.
in general." And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" I did a lot of sports as a child, and dance felt like a fun thing to add. And then I started going to dance lessons after the chess tournament.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at my local dance school in Peacehaven, which is kind of near Brighton. I did street dance classes.
Was that the first style that you
Yeah,
did?
street dance.
Iconic.
Yes, I made a friend there, and his younger sister was in a show in the West End, and he was like, "Would you like to come and see my sister in the show?" So I went to see his sister.
Yeah.
Her name is Annie Edwards.
Yeah.
She was in Into the Hoods.
Yes.
And from that moment then, I was like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Just the performers that I saw on stage, I knew from that moment, I was like, I have to do this. Like, I want to be one of you.
That's amazing.
I want to do this. So then I started traveling from Brighton to London every Saturday.
I mean, it's not a far journey, but still, it's a commitment though.
It is a commitment.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend, Isaac Edwards, me and Isaac and Annie would travel up to London every Saturday to be part of the Zoo Nation Youth Company. And it all kind of started there. I worked with them from the age of 14. I danced in Into the Hoods at 16.
Did you?
Yeah, I was on the Lost Children.
Were you?
Yes, it was so cute at the Queen Elizabeth Hall over Christmas time.
So you were a star from day.
I mean, I would say a star. I was a panicked little anxiety-ridden performer.
Bless.
And then I did A-level dance
Oh,
at
snap.
college.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did a contemporary youth group called Headstrong. It was like a really small little youth group that was set up by Stuart Walters in Eastbourne.
Right.
And my first ever piece that I performed was made by Ben Wright. So like these are still
Wow.
people who are still doing it. Like
Yeah.
Stuart and Ben are still making work.
They absolutely are.
Yeah, I would have been like 15. So that was like 16 years ago. I was doing that, like a youth group. I did A-level dance. I started to learn about Rambert and the history of contemporary dance.
Oh, yeah.
Then Rambert came to Brighton to perform at Theatre Royal.
Oh,
where
nice.
was like my local theatre. And I remember seeing them and in that moment being like, and now there's this as well. Like there's
Got
this.
you.
And I had kind of been working as a commercial dancer whilst I was training. at college. So I was working on shows like X Factor, Britain's Got Talent,
Okay.
Got to Dance, like I'm behind artists.
But do you know how epic that is to have a full CV whilst training?
It was fun. Like I just thought it was like,
This is what we do.
this is just the fun bit,
But
you know?
that's beautiful though.
And I enjoyed it so much. And I kind of did that from like 16 to 21. So then I went to London Studio Centre to train, and I went there because everyone from Zoo Nation trained there.
Oh, no way.
So that was literally
that
it.
Was
That was the deciding factor. I auditioned at the Place, Laban, and
Yeah.
London Studio Centre.
Yeah.
Didn't audition at Rambert
Yeah.
because I was like, that's like, I don't stand a chance. In my mind, I was like, I don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
And I auditioned for the Place and Laban because everyone else from my school was auditioning there.
Understood.
And I kind of knew a little bit about the schools. Rambert seemed unachievable, and I didn't know anyone who had been there, you know? So I was like, I don't know. Like, I know people have been to the Place and Laban, and I knew everyone from Zoo Nation had been to London Studio Centre. So it was a no-brainer for me. I had to go there. And then when I went there, I had some teachers from Rambert Company. So there's kind of Rambert kept on like feeding in.
Oh my gosh.
So I had Lisa Phillips was one of my teachers. Paul Liebert was one of my
Paul
teachers.
Liebert, yeah.
Yolanda York was one of my teachers. And so it kind of just started to thread in.
It really did.
And then
contemporary dance was pulling you.
It was like, come on, baby, come on. And then when I got into my final year at London Studio Centre, you have to decide which company you go into. And there is a contemporary dance company, a ballet company, a musical theatre company, and a jazz/commercial company. And I was pulled.
You're like, which one do I do?
Yeah, because I wasn't going to do the ballet company.
Okay. That was decided.
And I wasn't going to do the musical theatre company.
Okay, yeah.
Because you have to sing a lot.
Listen, I can relate. You don't even have to say. You don't have to say.
I thought about doing the jazz company because I was working as a commercial dancer at the time, and it felt like I would have really excelled there. But contemporary had kind of started to call to me through my training. So I ended up joining the contemporary company, and then my director invited Mark Baldwin to come and watch our show. I also wrote loads of letters to ADs and choreographers to come and see my show.
Wow.
So I wrote to...
That's bold.
You might know him, Matthew Bourne. I wrote to him.
Well, you might know.
I wrote to Matthew. You might know Richard Alston.
Oh, wow.
I wrote to him.
Yep.
I wrote to Russell Malafan. I wrote to Akram.
Oh, wow. And like, what did you have in this letter? Like,
please come and see me. I made sure in my final year I was watching like loads of choreographers' works, like Yasmin Vardaman. I was watching their work. Decide which ones you like.
Yeah. Which
ones you'd like to dance in.
Yeah.
And write to them and be like, can you come and see my show?
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Do you think that method would still work today? You know, with like how the industry is now in 2024? Because like I kind of wish I had done that a little bit more when I graduated. I kind of just was like, let's see what's around and then try and then audition for those things. But actually to be proactive and be like, hey, I'm interested in your work. Do you think that would work today?
I think so.
Yeah.
People have messaged me and they're like, I would be interested in performing your work and working with you.
Yeah.
And I keep tabs of who those people are.
Yeah, facts. Okay, I do the same.
I was quite fortunate that when I worked with Zoo Nation, like Kate, from such a young age, like I danced with the company from like 14 till I was 21. And I think working with Kate from such a young age, she was the director, but she was almost like another parent figure. So I had this different relationship between the dancer and the director. It was like, oh, you're my friend.
Yeah.
And Zoo Nation was like a company of friends and kids would like stay together. And if we were on tour, like we'd all go out for dinner. And it was very like family orientated, like real family vibe. So reaching out to a director for me was like, it would just be like another family. It wasn't like a really far away thing because I didn't understand the workings and the hierarchy of contemporary dance, perhaps. And it was just like, oh, I've started dancing in a style that is based around community. And there is someone who is in charge of leading the way, but there's no like gap between us. I can touch you, I can talk to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that's amazing because there is this thing of like, sometimes we put choreographers on a pedestal and they feel really far away.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing to respect and like honor people's work and the things that they have achieved, but also like remember that they're people just like us.
Yeah.
So that's epic that like in your graduation year that you already were able to like bridge that gap a little bit more because there's a lot of people where it feels like
it's so far away.
Yeah. 100%. And so once you graduated,
Mark Baldwin came to see my show. It's a very fun story actually. He came to see the show. Angela Towler and Michaela Polly, rehearsal directors, met me after the show and was like, we'd like to offer you an apprenticeship with Rambert.
Sick.
And I had just finished the show and I didn't know who they were. I hadn't done that much research. And I was like, I'll get back to you.
Iconic.
I remember them looking at me like,
Yeah.
who the F is this? I went backstage, but I'm still high on like adrenaline from the show. I went backstage. I said to my teachers, oh, someone just like asked me to do an apprenticeship. And she was like, oh, Angela and Michaela. I was like, yeah, I think so. They're from Rambert. What did you say? I was like, I said I'll get back to them because we've got another show tomorrow.
What did you?
And someone else might be there that I've written a letter to. And they were like, literally grabbed my shoulders, turned me around and was like, go back. And I remember running back into the auditorium at the place.
Yeah.
And being like, hi, Angela. Yes, I think yes. And she was like, and they hadn't moved. They were literally like waiting there, like, he's going to come back.
Yeah.
He's going to come back. Yeah.
This sounds like something out of a movie.
This is odd. And then for like the whole time that we worked together, like they would constantly remind me, it's like, do you remember when you told us to like hold on? Like, what the hell was wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't know who you were.
That's so
You're just some ladies. Like,
you're just some ladies.
You're just some ladies offering me a friendship. Like, I didn't know
Angela
at the time.
Michaela,
I know.
honey.
Now
I know.
Now I know. I learned real quick who they were. And then I danced with Rambert for like 8 years. I was an apprentice there for 2 years, danced with the company for 6.
You did an apprenticeship for 2 years. Is that how it always worked with Rambert? Or?
Yeah, during my time, up until the change of director, I think it had always been that you do 2 years.
Yeah.
If you come in from school, you do 2 years as an apprentice.
Right.
There's really no difference between you and the company members.
Yes.
It's just that Angela and Michaela take good care of you and don't let you forget the silly things you said.
But it keeps it fun.
It keeps it fun
keeps
and
it
fresh.
playful. And then since then, you've also been creating your own work?
Yes. So I left Rambert in 2021 to freelance. I've worked with like Didi Veldman with her company and Ben Duke since I left. Done a lot of freelancing work.
Also, shout out to Ruination. It is coming back this December.
Yes, it is. And we are looking forward to it very much.
I can imagine.
And I'm choreographing a lot. Like I started choreographing back when I was at the dance studio in Peacehaven.
Yeah.
Like I was always making dances and I was always at Rambert making dances and we had choreographic platforms where you would make on your colleagues.
Yeah.
And when I left, when I left Rambert, it kind of happened at a time that I was wanting to make more work and I couldn't balance being a full-time dancer in the company and making work.
Yeah, that's true. It's a real thing.
So it was just a decision I had to make. It was, something was pulling me and I had to listen to that. And now I make work as well.
Now you make work as well. And you're freelancing, dancing and still available in that sort of space or like interested in dancing in that space too?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more interested now at the moment. Actually, like I've had like a wave of making, which is super exciting, but my desire and my enjoyment of making comes from being inspired by other choreographers and dancing other people's work. And I feel like over the past year I haven't done that so much, and I recognize that I at the moment like desire that as a tool, as like a source of inspiration. So I would like to dance.
That's
more.
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm like, let the people know.
Yeah,
let the people know. Let me know. Let me know. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. You know, we do what we can to. Yeah, there's a lot of people I'd love to work with, both as a dancer and a choreographer in the industry. So as and when, things happen. But I'm in a similar place to you where it's like I really like creating, I really like teaching, and that is extremely hard to balance with full-time performing or full-time contracts with other companies. And it's a brilliant predicament to be in and to have that like, oh, I want to do this and all this, and both opportunities are there. But it doesn't take away that actually it comes at a cost at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to do a quick sort of like this or that, but contemporary dancer
let's go.
edition. There aren't too many. Shout out to Biscuit Ballerina.
Yes.
Queen of Contempt. That's what she calls. Have you seen those videos?
Yes, she is phenomenal.
I'm not going to lie. Like, she reads all of us. Every single one of us. Yeah. No one gets left behind.
No.
Yeah, and she's talking about all these things. I was like, yeah, we all do that.
And also such a fab dancer.
Isn't she great?
It's like, damn it.
Yeah. She's great.
Funny and good at dancing.
Isn't it? And also a businesswoman because she's
Exactly,
making it work.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so the first one, classic one. Are you team socks or no socks? Not the smile.
Yeah. Also, like, do you know what went through my mind first?
What?
Not what do I prefer?
Yeah.
Who's going to cuss me when they see my answer? It's literally like, who's going to have something to say on my opinion right now?
No way.
I'll go socks.
Oh, Oh, team socks.
I think so.
I'm not going to lie. Years in Alston has made me team no socks.
Yeah.
I really struggle to dance
Yeah.
in socks now.
Maybe not white socks.
Okay, fairs.
Yeah, definitely not white socks.
Okay, fairs.
Team black socks.
Team black socks.
Team black
Okay,
socks,
we
yeah.
love the specificity. Okay, this is very contemporary dance. Are you team tote bag or team backpack?
Team backpack.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I love a tote bag, you know?
Team turtle shell. I'm talking, yeah, big, heavy.
You know, like year 7 book
Yes,
bag?
exactly. Year 7, first day of school book bag. That's me. Let it hit you in the back of the legs when you're
No,
walking into the building. Yeah.
Iconic. Okay. Are you a stand at the front of class every time or be
Yes.
at the back? Oh, yep.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes.
That was it. Really?
Yes.
At the front?
Yes.
Okay, why? You've got to tell
Yes.
me why. You've got to tell me why.
Just because I know if anyone knows me and
Yeah.
watches this, they wouldn't have let me get to the next question either.
Yeah.
Don't ask him the next question.
Yeah.
Are you front of the room? Yes. Yes. Because, oh, it's
Ooh.
loaded. When I started like training in other forms that weren't street dance, like ballet, contemporary dance, and like modern dance styles, I felt very much like I had a lot to learn and that I was very far behind.
Right.
And I always wanted to approach these new genres of dance like I had never danced before.
Oh.
My like practice at school and throughout my time at Rombe was like, it's like I know nothing. Like I want to go at it like, not like I've had a good career in any other style of dance. Like this is you beginning, like your first ever time. You have no success to bring with you. And there's something about being at the front that I was like, I want every bit of information because I need this to happen quickly as well.
Right.
Because I started like ballet at 18.
Wow.
Like contemporary at 18. I was like, this needs to happen quick. So I need to be stood right next to you.
Yeah.
Breathing on your shoulder.
Wow.
So I can have that information.
That's close.
And it's very close.
I mean, I love it. I've always wanted to be, and it's funny because anyone who's taken class with me or works with me over the years knows that you're going to find me in a back corner somewhere. Absolutely. There's just something so comforting. I feel so much more zoned in and I work harder when I feel less visible in the room. It does involve a lot of this. in
The
class.
pigeon.
Yeah. Like trying to see.
When I was at London Studio Centre, they found out I was dyslexic. One of the teachers found out because I was struggling in class to reverse exercises.
Yeah, okay.
And they were like, you keep doing the right side, but from the left side of the room. And I was like, that's the game, no? Like, and it was like, no, you have to change the side of your body. And I couldn't compute. And there were some things that I struggled with. Relying on other people in the room, I struggled with. So it was like, if I can get to the front of the room and not have anyone to rely on, then I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah,
I'm going to
fairs.
force myself to pick it up.
Yeah. Fairs. I mean, we respect it. We really do.
Yeah.
Okay, this one. Are you team Arnica gel or Tiger Balm? Or do you use any?
My bag is full of like half a tub of Arnica pills, twice touched Tiger Balm, some toe tape, like Neil's Yard, something.
We
like,
love a Neil's
and
Yard.
everything is like, I'm really sore today. I'll have a little bit of this. Tomorrow I don't use it. And it's just at the bottom of my bag.
Yeah.
So I can't pick either.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. Again, anyone who's worked with me knows I'm firmly team Tiger Balm.
Yeah.
Someone said to me in the contract, it's like, I constantly smell of like Tiger Balm and Chanel, which was like my perfume. I was like, that's a combination.
That's a combo.
It's a combo. Apparently it works. Okay, so would you prefer to perform in a theatre or perform something site-specific?
Ooh. I love a theatre.
Yeah.
I love a theatre.
Yeah.
There's something about the lights, like, and the darkness.
And the blackout before you start, and
the
you're like,
blackout,
here we go.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's
Facts,
go.
no?
Yeah.
And then now from like a choreographer point, would you prefer to create for theatre or create for site-specific?
Ooh. I am more practiced in creating for theatre.
That is a brilliant answer. I like how that's worded.
But I would like to choreograph for site-specific, but I feel like I haven't had the experience to feel as confident as I do creating for theatre. So I would prefer to create for theatre because I know I'm less likely to absolutely mess it up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more likely in site-specific, but I would like to create for site-specific.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And so I've got a bonus question for you.
Hear me.
Can you guess the average salary of a contemporary dancer? Because for some context, this was very wild, but I just walked around the streets of South Bank and asked random people if they, one, knew what contemporary dance was, and if they could guess the salary of contemporary dancers. And actually, the ballpark figure was kind of the same across the people that I asked. So it's interesting to see what the public think versus what people in the industry and who've been in the industry for a while think. So maybe you can guess what you think the public said and what you think the average is, if there's a difference.
I would say the public probably think you make around £30,000.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a hard question, isn't
It's
it?
a hard question. It's like 18.
You think the public think that?
I would think £18,000.
Wait, you think that's the average?
Sometimes it's tough out here.
No, I hear you.
Sometimes it's tough out here, yeah.
Do you genuinely think that's the average across everyone in the industry? But you think the public think that we earn more?
Yeah, I would think so.
Wow.
I would think so. There were times like when I was at Rombear, I thought like I got accustomed to making like a salary.
Yeah.
Like that I get paid all the time.
Yeah.
But then like now as a freelancer, sometimes months go by where I'm like working on my own projects and it costs me money.
Yes. Okay.
And my 16-year-old sister who works at JD in like her time out of college makes more money than me.
Yeah, fair play. Okay.
And sometimes
From
she's
that
making
perspective, I understand you,
making like £1,500 a month. And it's like, you made more money than me this month.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing about freelancing though.
It's freelance. Yeah. And it's
I
like,
hear you. Now
also
I
when I'm
understand.
working on my projects, I'm like, sometimes I look at my bank and I'm like, we haven't actually been paid for a month.
I know, but it's also the invoicing thing because you could be doing work and then you're not getting paid for a hot minute.
Exactly. So yeah, I'd say like, my thought would be like around 20. I said 18, maybe 18's low, but maybe around 20 would be mine.
Yeah. I think hearing like your reasoning behind it, I'm like, okay, now I understand where you're coming from. I don't think about it in terms of like every month. Like, you know, because you can have some months like when we did Marvel and we filmed on Marvel, you can have some months that are like Marvel money.
It's a Marvel month. It's a Marvel month.
It's a Marvel
and I'm
month.
like, okay.
You know what I mean?
Good,
and then you can have ones where it's like, okay, I taught 5 classes this month.
Yeah.
And that's all I did.
Yeah.
But you're working on your own project, so it's not like you're not doing stuff. But in terms of like that consistent income, it might not look like that every month. So I totally understand and hear what you're saying. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to reveal what was happened off camera. Yeah. Because obviously we have to reveal it in next episodes.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting because I'm always like, I think we should start opening up the conversation about money in contemporary dance. Because a lot of people, one, don't know how we make money.
Yeah.
And they also, I think we can just be better equipped at how to manage money and manage our freelancing careers. But that's a topic for another day.
I assume the public who do know about contemporary dance maybe know about it like on stage and know about the big names.
Yeah.
And with that, you assume that if you're on stage and you're an artist, you're going to be making money. They kind of maybe equate it to the amount of money that they will pay for a ticket. You know, it's like, I'm going to pay a lot of money to go and see this show sometimes. So I assume that you are also making decent money.
Yeah.
But not everyone is in one of those companies.
No,
not everyone in those companies are making good money.
That's very true. Can we talk about it?
Exactly, yeah.
You know, it's very real. It was quite interesting speaking to the public actually, because I was surprised. And funnily enough, we were like moments away from the Rombear building itself. And many people didn't know that the building was there.
Yeah.
Because they're just so used to walking along the river or seeing what's happening at South Bank and things like that. And then I was pleasantly surprised by some people who did know about it. But what was interesting, there was always a reference to musicals.
Yeah.
You know, it's like musicals first. And then they're like, oh yeah, they go to interpretive dance. When I asked them what contemporary dance is. And I was like, you know what, you're kind of not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
It's part of it.
It's part of it, yeah. There's more to it, you know? But yeah, just so we can get into the question of today.
Yes.
Our main topic is contemporary technique still relevant in today's industry? Now, I know a big question, perhaps a loaded question, but I just think it's really good to open up this conversation because there's been a bit of a shift, I would say, specifically from 2020 onwards in particular, of like perhaps less of an interest from graduates, newly graduating people, people kind of like working in the industry in terms of like moving away from form-based movement, perhaps not seeing how it connects to what's being produced on stage and what people are seeing online and, you know, changes in curriculums at schools and various different things. So where do you stand on it? Let's just start there.
Where do I stand?
Yeah.
I love contemporary dance.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Cunningham. Yeah, I'm a big Cunningham fan. like modern dance, I guess, depending on where we are in the world and what we want to call it.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I've always just referred to it as contemporary dance,
yeah.
but I realized, especially in the US, you're like, oh no, this is modern dance.
This is modern dance. Yeah. Why do I like it? I think for me, I enjoy it and I think it's important because when I think about like when I first started ballet, it's a style of dance that even though I had never danced before that, like before I was a dancer, I knew about ballet.
Yeah.
And I knew there was like this image of it that I had in my head.
Right.
And then when I started like Cunningham, I was fortunate enough to have teachers who were able to share with me the practical importance and value of ballet rather than the grand, like hierarchical, like, rather than why we should put it on a pedestal. It was like, these are the practical elements of it that can be really helpful for you. They knew I wasn't going to be a ballet dancer.
Right.
I didn't want to be a ballet dancer. So I was like, I need to do this in a way that's going to be like helpful and useful to me. But I still had the image in my head of what it meant to be good at ballet and what it looked like to be good at ballet and what my body had to look like for it to be good. I'm very fortunate that I've had friends, more than teachers, who have helped me understand even further as an adult, like the practical benefits of ballet.
Right.
But there was something about modern dance, Cunningham, Graham.
Oh, you did Graham as well?
Particularly, yes. That helped me understand, okay, I practice this thing in ballet, standing on one leg.
Yeah.
And I practice it so I can do this other thing that is kind of similar, but like a variation on a theme. And I was like, I'm still standing on one leg. My leg is still turned out sometimes, but I'm doing like this other thing. I'm tilting, I'm curving, I'm contracting, I'm spiraling, something else. And it was like, for me, it's like contemporary dance is, it's a gateway drug to freedom.
Okay. Oh,
you know, like
statements.
I know, right? That's why I was like, oh God. I was like, I felt that in my mouth. I was like, am I about to say that? Yeah, it's like contemporary dance is a gateway drug to freedom.
Come on, let them know.
Yeah, but it's like, it helped me
Yeah.
understand how I could take one technique and with like a slight variation on it, I could utilize the things I was learning in ballet.
Right.
And I could apply them in a different way and have a different aesthetic and in a different context. And for that reason, I think it's important. I think it's so important because then for me as a choreographer, like I'm also trying to take all of these things I've trained in as a street dancer. I then did ballet or Cunningham, I would say every day for 10 years.
Wow.
Because I was in like training for 3 years and then I went immediately into Romba for 8 years. That's like 11 years of like either ballet or Cunningham every morning.
Yeah.
So I have this knowledge and it's like as a choreographer, I'm trying to work out how those knowledges sit in my body and how I can utilize them all and express my hybridity. And it requires not like copying them, but like taking from each of them. And that's what I loved about contemporary dance. Contemporary dance was like, oh, I can take from ballet. I'm taking this thing, the shape of the foot, the being on one leg, the turning, the things that I learned in ballet that felt like this ground for practicing like the real specific like fundamentals. And then I can go on and apply them differently. When I was training in street dance, like I was learning breaking as well. So it's like actually then when I'm doing contemporary, like it's helped me understand like, oh, like I've done breaking before.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do floor work, which is like in moments, like I'm like, oh, I have these transferable skills.
Yes.
And I'm really seeing that contemporary dance lends a lot from other styles. And as a person who has multiple informations in my body, I like that. This is like a category of dance and art in general that lends from others. And that's where I want to exist because I don't see myself as being
like just one thing.
Just one thing, yeah. Like,
You've got a lot of information in your body already. But do you think, because I realized from teaching, not everyone is as open to how transferable styles of dance can be, like from one style to another. And it's not like, oh, I'm stubborn and don't want to do it, but actually just like making those connections sometimes takes a bit longer based on your own curiosities, how much you like the style or dislike the style. So it sounds like, but would you say that because you started in one specific style and then you were adding other styles into your experience, that it kind of helped you piece those connections between like how all of these styles influence you? Because I always say like, you're one person. The one consistent thing in all of these styles is you.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're applying yourself in all of these spaces, you're the one consistent thing. Like, how do you transfer all the information that's here in this space and then in this space and then in that space? But it sounds like, yeah, having had such a variety of different skills and an opportunity to learn different styles at a young age and then throughout your career, has that helped you make those tangible connections?
Yes. And I think it has helped. And I think being a little bit older now, I realized that the transferability of styles and skills isn't to do with the aesthetic.
Yes.
And I think quite often we think, why am I doing this thing? It doesn't look like the thing I want to do. And it's like, that's not what's transferable. What's transferable isn't the aesthetic of what I'm doing, what it looks like. It's like what I'm practicing my body to know. It's like I'm practicing being in positions. I'm practicing my body's awareness of space. I'm practicing my body's rhythm. I'm practicing my body's balance, like the groundedness. Like I'm practicing so many things and it looks like a specific aesthetic because I'm in this style of class.
Exactly.
But the transferability, it isn't the aesthetic. It's the thing you're practicing. And if we can see past the aesthetic and identify what it is we're practicing, when we do an exercise, like I'm actually practicing the articulation of my lower leg.
Yeah.
That's what I'm practicing.
Come on, detail.
I'm not practicing being a ballet dancer and doing a frappe. That's, or a tondu. It's like I'm actually practicing articulating my feet.
Yeah.
And again, like I have friends, and I'll say their name on camera.
Say
Stephen Quilden.
Yes, Stephen.
Stephen Quilden, like, and Miguel Altonaga, like these people, when I worked at Rambert and after I've worked at Rambert, continue to share their knowledge on dance with me. And they're both fabulous dancers, fabulous teachers. And when they're we're in a studio together making work, and we're suddenly stopping halfway through and being like, someone will have a thought about like, why do we do tondus? And then like, oh, you're doing something. I'm like, it's like a tondu. And he's like, but is it like a tondu? And I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. And he's like, because when I do a tondu, I'm thinking of this. And I'm like, mad, I'd never thought of that. And then we go into a conversation about the articulation of the lower leg. And you realize, again, as an adult, that's why I do tondus.
Yeah.
That has taken me 15 years to understand. But that's what I'm practicing, and that's why it's useful.
Yeah.
Not because I'm practicing to look like a certain thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm practicing having information in my body, and my body holding multiple informations and being able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a brilliant way to kind of be curious about your practice, and also does like foster that the power of community is also really important. And yes, it's great to have people who are interested in the same things that we are, but also people who are interested in different things and approach things from a different way, because then you do have conversations at various points in your career with your friends and be like, oh, I never thought about it like this. And then maybe it unlocks something else. It can be quite dangerous to just follow the kind of mass line of thought solely. I think it's good to take time to interrogate, like, what do you think? So yeah, let's talk about it. Why not? There's a lot of schools that are considering removing ballet from the audition process. And when I say schools, I'm talking specifically about contemporary dance training schools in higher education, as a means of making it perhaps more inclusive. And there's a lot of the term decolonizing the curriculum is utilized. And, you know, there's removing of certain traditional Western practices, perhaps, from school systems in favor to make it more inclusive, make it more accessible. How do you think that impacts how we view technique? You know, because our industry is constantly changing. So I think it is necessary to adapt. And of course, we want to make sure it's accessible to as many people as possible. But also it's good to just think about like what's the effect on what's being maybe taken away or considered to be taken away, you know?
Yeah. Two things spring to mind. When you were talking, I was thinking that often when it's about going with trends, you know? I think often we don't understand what comes before or what has inspired a trend and what certain people are responding to and what skills they're utilizing in the trend.
Yeah.
You know, so I know there was a point where like there was just like so many dancers. I was like, I'm obsessed with you. Like Instagram is great for that. You're like, I'm obsessed with this person. They are the gooeyest. Like human being without bones I've ever seen in my life. And I would work with someone and be like, oh my God, that person is just like, and I think that's what I was so fortunate with working at Rambert. I would watch someone and be like, I adore the way you work and the way you move when you have a choice, when you get to move how you want. But then I see you in technique class in the morning and you are a phenomenal ballet dancer.
Yeah.
You are a phenomenal Cunningham dancer. And before here, you danced in a ballet company or you trained at Juilliard?
Yeah.
Where,
Shout out to Juilliard.
and
The
I'm like,
dancers there. Yeah.
wow. Okay, so I'm looking at you thinking you're just gooey.
Yeah.
I'm like mimicking that. Like I see what I want and I'm like, I want to be gooey too. So I practice gooey.
Yeah.
But I can't, some reason I'm like, I can't do the gooey thing and stay on balance like you. It's like, oh, that's because you also did all of this other stuff. And now this is like your choice on top. So I think often if we just like go for the thing that we see, we don't realize like what
it took for them to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
and I
like
think
the different information they house.
Exactly. And that they're utilizing in that thing. We're just looking at the surface image of that moment rather than looking at the history of information they have in their body.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it,
And
actually, the history of information.
Miguel, for me, is like, he's like an older brother, a mentor for me. When he talks about his training in Cuba, his Afro-Cuban training, and he demonstrates it to me, I can't, it gives me goosebumps.
Oh, wow.
I can't even dream of having that sort of articulation in my body.
Right.
And then it makes sense why I can't dream about doing the same thing as him.
Yeah.
Although I can get close.
Yeah.
Those undulations, that isolation of the rib, the pelvis, the coordinations that I think are just coming out of nowhere. It's like, no, that's embodied knowledge. That's like etched into his bones.
Yeah.
I can't get that by just doing his improvisation class and copying him and doing his choreography, you know?
Yeah.
Coming back to the thought of like decolonizing the curriculum, dance curriculums, yes, and I question. No, I don't question. I think it's definitely necessary. The way in which we do it, I think, needs questioning.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because, like, for instance, like ballet, if we take ballet away, then people still don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like it was isolating at one point.
Yeah.
So let's just take it away.
Yeah.
It's like, but no, then I was isolated from it. And now you've created a space where I can come in, but now I don't get it. So it's still for a specific group of people. How is that fair?
Yeah.
Like I would be annoyed. I would be annoyed. Yeah. Like, because I remember going to school and being like, I want to learn ballet.
Right.
Like, I want to learn it.
Yeah.
It's so far from me, but it's a skill I want to acquire.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to have teachers that would deliver it to me in a way that I could digest. And I say that, again, talking about Stephen, a very good friend of mine. Even now, like, we've always been equals, but we're complete equals. We're like best friends.
Yeah.
And we work together in the studio and he will still teach me class and he's still giving me information that's going to help me with my body and help me achieve the practical thing we're trying to achieve rather than the aesthetic we're trying to achieve or the image that we already have. We're not trying to move towards that, you know? And I think it's finding different ways of teaching things.
I agree.
Rather than removing what we're teaching.
This is what I think is something that could be investigated / interrogated a little bit more. And I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. I've never run a school. I've never led a training facility by any means whatsoever, you know, but it's also just like, I also understand as someone who didn't have a classical body, these are words that I've heard across my career and things, or felt that like achieving line and form wasn't possible. There was definitely a period of time where I didn't think that was possible for me. I've had some really wonderful teachers across my whole career, I guess, from training and things like that. And I think it really is down to how we facilitate the technique and the intention in which we share the technique with either students, professionals. Because if we hold on to something that is very rigid and, as you say, this aesthetic that if you don't look like this, then this is not for you. And it's like, okay, cool, there's that. But how can we still use this as a technique to serve what we're doing moving forward? I think there's something in that also produces a sort of resilience in dance. And I'm saying this from personal experience. I went to Arts Ed for 7 years. So it's like modern jazz, tap. I had the best time while I was there. I was like, yeah, cute. And then I got severely humbled when I went to Rambert School because I'm now a small fish in a big pond. And all of a sudden, it's like the level of people around me, they're like far exceeding, and they had so much more experience in classical ballet. They had bodies that had been trained and attuned to the technique far longer than mine had. And, you know, there's something about having had to do point work every day, having had to do ballet solos in front of your whole school.
Can I say, when I heard about that, I said, there is no way. There is no way
Yeah.
on earth.
I think it's changed now, but back when...
Yeah, when we were training, and when I talked to my friends who went to one best school and they're like
Yeah.
showing me videos of every year the ballet solo, I
Yeah.
said, there is not a chance.
Listen, Lilac Fairy, I did that.
There is not a chance, Monique.
Yeah. I had the fan, everything.
Yeah.
It was like, give me a fan, I'll live my best life.
Yeah.
But you know, I had the point work. Different situation.
Upstairs.
Look up here, okay? But honestly, even though that was probably one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done, and as first years, we used to be the first ones to do it.
Oof.
Yeah, but in a weird way, it's kind of good because you don't actually then get to see what the second years and third years are doing. You know what I mean? You don't really get a chance to sort of compare. But there is something about, I'm not a ballet dancer. I'm now in the tutu and point shoes in front of my whole year and being assessed, which sounds super intense. But there's a certain resilience and grit that kind of comes through that experience to be able to deliver and also sometimes fail. And like, I say fail loosely, as in like, we wobble, and for us it's like catastrophic, but it's like one wobble in the whole sequence of something, and then you get up and you go again the next time. And there's something in that willingness to kind of work out, iron out the kinks of why does this not make as much sense to me? Why is this not as interesting to me? Because it's fine for it not to be interesting to you, but like, why? Okay, cool, I'm not really a fan of this, I'm more interested in this. It helps just like develop your own understanding of what it is that you're interested in as an artist, rather than this technique is good and this technique is bad. This one is inclusive, this one is not inclusive. You know, such like harsh markers. And I guess, my question is like wondering what sort of messaging is attached to when we remove and kind of like move techniques away in that sort of sense. Because, you know, how can we make it a bit more open and accessible and transferable to people who are doing contemporary dance, who might want to do hip hop, who might want to do commercial, who might not want to dance at all, but you know, we're in this space, so I guess it leads itself in that.
You spoke on resilience as well, and I think that's important, really important. I think that's something that we should be training at school as well. I feel like I've always had a little bit of like underdog mentality, like always, like I want to do the thing that people think I can't do. That's what I want. And now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, no, what do you actually want to do? Rather than doing the thing that people think you can't do, what do you actually want to do? So there's a shift there. But I think having had to, because at school it feels like you have to, do things you're not good at. And things that aren't comfortable. Prepares you for a career where you will be asked to do things that perhaps aren't natural or feel comfortable. And not in an unsafe way.
I was just about to say that. I'm so glad you said that.
Not in an unsafe way or a dangerous way, but like in a like physical, like skill, like performance, dance, choreographic way. Like I don't feel comfortable doing this step. Like how can I work it out? Like that's like my skill isn't.
It's like problem solving almost.
It isn't bound to a genre. My skill is my body. And how I navigate my body and space and what people want my body to do choreographically, and I love that. And I feel like the more we can do different styles and be in places where we're like, I don't know how to do this. How can I work this out? And school is such a safe place to do that. When you're on the job, you have to blag it.
True.
And if it doesn't go well, it's like, thank you. And you know if it doesn't go well, you're like, thank me, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm out. But at school, it's like a great place to trial those things and be like, how can I do this thing that I'm really not as well equipped at as the other things that I feel more skilled in? This is a time to be training those things and work out, how can I work around this? How can I navigate this thing?
Definitely. And I think that's something I think we don't talk about enough, actually. There's something in school where that's the place to try.
And like, you're building the resilience.
And it's okay to not be good at something. It's okay to find movement uncomfortable sometimes and be like, ooh, this maybe doesn't sit on me the way I'd like for it to. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard when people around you are thriving and, you know, they're doing stuff and they're melting into that floor and you're like, how did you get down there?
Or they're like, It's horrible.
No, I know. It's almost like not connect the dots, but you know, when things start to like fall into place in your own body, because it's like how it works for this person over here is not going to be the same for you. And you know how it works for like homegirl over there who's melting into the floor. You know, you might need to focus on releasing a certain few things
Exactly,
before that
yes.
looks like that on you. And even then it will look different. It's okay to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's not that rigid. And
Mm-mm.
contemporary dance is constantly pushing like, yeah, it was that, but now it's this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But it could also be this,
Yeah.
within that. But I think it's good to have both. Like, as you said, like where things came from, the technique, the things that essentially established the contemporary dance industry here in the UK, and then like moved forward into what the industry is today. And there's been a big shift over, we know, with, some companies closing, some companies going from like full-time to project-based or working in different ways. The industry is constantly being redefined.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we should adapt how we're training and working. But I think we can also do that and like honor how we came to be this industry now.
Yeah. And I think we have to continue to adapt, but we don't want to chase, would be my thing. You don't want to constantly chasing like the carrot in front of you.
Yeah.
Like the thing's shifting and you're like, now I need to do that. And now I want to be like this. Now I want to be like that. How can you develop an understanding of your body that allows you to transform? And I think ultimately, whether it's about ballet, whether it's about contemporary dance, whether it's about street dance, like anything, like just doing things that give you a thorough understanding of your body, its organization in space, rhythm, timing,
Heavy on the rhythm,
coordination.
Yep.
It's like, you're going to be good. But I would also suggest not doing one of them.
Yeah.
I would do 3.
Yeah.
Because they have different coordinations, different rhythms, different organization of the body. So then you can adapt with the landscape, you have the tools.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And there's so much required of us as contemporary dancers, artists, choreographers, like creating, making, dancing in the space. Like you can be doing one thing on one day and the complete other thing on another day, especially if you're freelancing and going between different jobs and projects. So it does produce this sort of like versatility, but like not necessarily surface level versatility where like the core principles are understood and then you're able to like adapt them to different places. And I just hope that core value is still being encouraged within the industry, both on stage, professionally, like, do you know what I mean? In schools and things like that. This next section is called Know Your Worth.
Yes.
Because I just think as performers and artists, we need to learn to know our worth a lot more. But don't worry, it's not anything that's like...
Give it to me.
How would you say you know your worth within dance? Like, how do you carry yourself? Or not, But like, what's one thing that you could say is just like, do you know what? I try to like know my worth by being, I don't know, keeping my integrity within this technique. Or like, what does knowing your worth in dance look like to you? Maybe let's phrase it that way.
I think it's a sensation. Knowing my worth, I might change my mind at some point, but I'm going to go with what currently is like popping to mind. Is like being on the cusp of like discomfort and feeling an element of control. That's where I feel like I know my worth. Not allowing myself to tip into complete discomfort and overwhelm. That I have some reign on how close I am to that cliff edge. Whether that's choreographing, where sometimes your brain is not very nice to you, or my brain is not very nice to me, and I get lost and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to tip over and everyone's gonna watch me spill onto the floor, is how it feels. And just being like, wait, you're good. Pull yourself back. What do you know? And then going forwards. And I think the same is with dancing, is knowing like if I'm performing the work of another person, is like how much can I push and know where the edge is before it gets a little bit hairy and I feel out of control and overwhelmed. And I think monitoring myself, how close I get to that boundary is how I think establish my worth. And how I feel like in control and of worth.
I think that's amazing, actually. And also not where I thought you were going to go with that question, which is great. In contemporary dance, we're expected to give like 100% of ourselves in processes, especially like when we're creating work and especially on stage. I've heard people say like, leave the stage and like you should be empty. And I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know if we should be empty. Because, what about the rest of my life? Like, there's more to me.
Get back to my hotel and eat.
I've got to go and eat. Like, what about just my own well-being? Like, if I'm empty all the time, you can just leave yourself really susceptible to a lot of different things, emotional fatigue, mental fatigue, physical fatigue. I'm like, how can we be promoting walking around empty You know, as people, so like seeing ourselves as people rather than just dancers.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for like, we're people first.
Yeah.
We're dancers, artists, however you wish to label it, second.
Yeah.
So it's really important that I think you brought that up because actually learning how to monitor like, well, I actually don't have that in me today, to like give what you're asking, and then becomes that sort of problem solving. Well, how do I achieve your creative vision without sacrificing all of myself?
Yeah.
Another big question. I don't know if we've got
That's a big question.
I was like, I don't know if I've got answers
I
for
literally
that
was like,
either.
how do I do that?
Yeah. It starts in like what you've already said
Mm-hmm.
about kind of knowing where that boundary is for yourself and not allowing or noticing when you might be approaching that point of overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing people don't talk about as choreographers is like how vulnerable it is having a room full of people look at you and ask you like, well, what do we do next? And sometimes you're like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I would like to be left alone
Yes.
whilst I find out.
Yeah.
So all of you close your eyes.
Do you ask people to do that?
I may as well have. No, no. Like I would never, because I'm also a massive people pleaser. So I'm like, you're all doing great. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You're all in safe hands.
Yeah.
Melting inside.
Do you know, I have to give huge props to people who can like create instantly on people in a room and just generate material. I always was like, yeah, that's how you choreograph. And I realized that's not how I choreograph at all.
No.
And that's sort of like, I usually create my worst material if I'm thinking about something on the spot and in the room. I don't know how you find that.
It's so interesting, like honoring myself. Like I know when I'm making, I need to find it physically for myself. And I usually end up going over things over and over again. I don't expect anyone to do it with me.
Yeah.
But I need to like hash it out with myself in the studio in front of people, normally in the downstage right corner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that's me. That's my
your
space.
space.
Where I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to go over this thing.
Got you.
And I love if people are somewhat attentive and trying to kind of work out what it is I'm exploring. But I don't expect you to do that. And I would like to come back out of my corner and be like, I have something for you.
Great.
But also like honoring myself and knowing my worth is allowing myself to do that and not being of the thinking or like not presenting myself like I've done all this homework and I'm going to give it to you. My brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Or in the moment, I imagine you do this. My brain doesn't work like that either.
Yeah.
I need to just be in a studio with my body and some people and give you things and see how they work and then go away into the corner and work it out.
Into a downstage right corner.
Yeah, exactly.
And then figure it out. No, I love that. And I think thanks for sharing that as well, part of your process, because I was of the line of thought back in the day that like to be a choreographer, this is how you do it and this is the one way and blah, 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 blah. And it's been like dismantling all of those ideas and being like, no, this is what works for me right now. And actually, this used to work for me. This no longer works. With this specific group of people, I might need to do it in a different way. So actually, it's good, I think, for people to hear the different sort of processes that people have, because often we just see the end product and we don't always know how people arrive there, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's only right to just be like, what is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, yes.
With the wealth of information that you've been able to share and still have within you today.
What advice would I give to my younger self? Whether it's advice, like trust yourself and enjoy yourself. Enjoy it. Like make it fun.
Make it fun is very real.
Because the moments are there to be extremely fun and extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
And pleasurable. And sometimes you have to work to find that in a situation. That's my source. And I think just knowing like that's okay to find that.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that in a room. And before I'd been like, oh, like I'm trying to make it fun, or I'm trying to find the way that feels good for me, but I'm not sure if I want to do that because then maybe I disrupt the room. Like, find it. Like that's important about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any advice to the wider dance community? Like, I've had quite a few questions where people who are just starting out, they're like, oh, any advice on like how to get started or, you know, break into the industry, for lack of better words. When I graduated, I think I was graduating into a very different industry to what it is today. And so sometimes I struggle with what sort of advice to offer, because the methods that I use may not be as applicable. Company class is less of a thing as it was, less of an open thing maybe as it was when I was graduating, because, you know, people would be like, try and go to company class, try and do all of this type of stuff. But yeah, any advice that you would give either to someone starting out or someone who's been in the industry for a while?
As soon as you were asking that question, I was like, what would I say to myself? Because I am like at the moment in like a slight, not a rut, but like I'm choreographing. I really enjoy it. I want to dance more.
Yeah.
My choreographic brain at the moment is like struggling and feels somewhat depleted.
Okay, yeah.
Even just then saying like to my younger self, like find the fun, find the joy. I was like, I need to do that again.
Yeah.
Like I need to find that. And we lose that as we get further into our careers. We lose that and we lose the reason why we did it. And it has to become a business. It has to become a job. But there is something that brought us here.
Yeah.
And that was, again, like a source that allowed us to get to here.
Yeah.
And like a rocket ship, you know, things have to drop off for us to get higher. I get rid of things that I associate with my younger self, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like the joy in the play, like, and the genuine interest. Can I bring that back? Then it's almost like self-serving, you know, like that's how you find, this is a whole other conversation, but like I'm really interested in flow state.
Okay.
That's how I find my flow state. It's like the joy, the genuine interest, the fun, being consumed with it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
That's how it's sustainable, because it's not sustainable in many other ways.
Yeah.
The body changes.
It does.
How much money I make changes.
Yep.
It's not consistent.
Yeah.
It's not constantly growing with the more experience that I get necessarily. So there's something that I have to keep consistent. And if that can be the fun, the joy, and the like healthy consumption and interest, then I think would be my advice to myself and anyone else.
That's amazing. That is a really beautiful note to finish on. No, but it's true. You know, we get so bogged down sometimes on like, oh, I need to have this job. Oh, I need to make this and I need to do all of that. And like most of us actually started dancing because we liked it.
Yeah, man.
And we forget that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were just having a good time in
having a good time.
in our class with our friends. It was about community. It was about people. It was about movement and the joy of movement. So I think that's a beautiful note to finish on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a treat.
Thank you. It's just, pleasure having you share your experience, share your thoughts, your process and like your journey through the industries. So now it's time to hear from you guys. I would love to hear what you think. Is contemporary technique still relevant in the contemporary dance industry today? If yes, why? If no, also why? Let's start the conversation. Let's start delving into why these things are shaping our industry or not. And if there are any other questions that you would like for us to answer, then please leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you so much.